What if you could 10x your lead generation without hiring a single person? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do just that. If you're new here, my name is Shep and I build AI and automation systems for businesses to become more efficient and more productive. So here's a spreadsheet that I have with some leads that I've pulled and enriched using my AI automation. And I have fed all of these leads into a tool called Smartlead.ai. And here's the campaign that's going out with the enriched leads all over here with emails shooting out every single day. Usually work like this would take a VA hours and hours just to do 100 or 200 leads. But with the system that I'm going to show you, you could easily do 300, 400, 500, even more leads every single day for a fraction of the cost. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. And before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more AI and automation content. So I have used n8n to build this lead generation system, and let me walk you through it step by step. Everything starts with a Telegram trigger. All I have to do to get this process started is just to shoot a human language message to Telegram, to this Telegram bot, saying I need to find leads of pest control companies in Arizona. That will kick this process off. So the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to go into an information extractor node, and the information extractor node is going to pull out the company type, which is pest control in this case, the industry keyword, that's the description, and it's going to pull out the location as well. And in order to get this to work with Apollo, we have to give it a bit of a detailed prompt. So the location of the company with country with ASCII characters where needed, as this is going to be a URL parameter, for example, North Carolina and comma US, right? So that's the location. And we also want the location proper, North Carolina. This is to log into our spreadsheet. And we also need to give it a system prompt as well. So it needs to extract the relevant information. So once that information is extracted, we need to attach a model to it to get that to work. That triggers the Apify Apollo scraper. Now, the Apify Apollo scraper is this one. It's very powerful. It's only $1.20 for 1,000 leads, which is incredible if you think about it. And it gives you a search URL. Now, what you need to do is, now what we want to do is replace the variables in this URL with the variables from our information extractor. And that's what we are going to run. So if we go into the JSON over here, this is the body that we're looking to send. We don't want to clean the output. Total records can be whatever number. You can keep it to 1,000. It'll take a bit longer for that to finish. You can keep it at 100, 200, whatever. But just bear in mind that if the number here is not necessarily going to be the number of leads you get, we are going to set up some extra filters like leads that only have email addresses and leads that have particular criteria. So you can leave it at 1,000, you can do 500, whatever works for you. But just 1,000 is $1.20. So if you want to keep that cost in mind, and this is the URL. So if we go back into n8n, we're making a post request to this URL, which is this is the actor ID, which you can get from the URL of the Apollo scraper. We're passing in our API key, and we're also sending a body as well. So let's go ahead and expand this and see what's working. So we are getting personal emails. Total records, I've left this at 1,000. We want to get work emails as well. And this is the URL. Now for the URL, we have replaced some parameters with variables from the information extractor. So we have the location here, we have the company type here, and all we're looking for is either managers, owners, or presidents. So any people who have any of these three keywords in their job title or headline, those are the people that this scraper is going to find. So once that scraper runs, we need to give it some time for the scraping to finish. So that then goes into a wait node, and we're going to wait for 5 seconds. Then we're going to check the status of that Apollo scraper. To do that, we need to call this URL with a GET request. And just replace the act ID over here, /run/last. And then we need to check the status. So if the status is succeeded, then it proceeds to the next step. If it's not succeeded, it loops back into the wait node, waits another 5 seconds, and then checks again until the status is succeeded. Then we have to pull that data set. So to do that, we need to grab the variable default dataset ID from that earlier run, use the same authentication as earlier. And what that's going to do is pull in the entire scrape. So whatever number of records Apify was able to find for us, whether that's 200 or 1,000 or whatever, it's going to pull in that many items. Next, we're going to add a filter, and we want to filter records where the email is not empty, right? Because if a prospect does not have an email address, then it's no good for cold emailing. So if the email is not empty, then only are we going to move to the next step. Otherwise, any leads with empty emails are going to be discarded. Next up, we have another filter where you can add more granularity. If you want to filter by number of employees, if you want to filter by any other variables that you get from that Apify run. Next up, I have a code node which takes the data and analyzes the number of employees. It analyzes the position of the individual and uses that to kind of calculate a lead score. And it automatically assigns a score to that lead, whether how likely that prospect fits within the criteria that we are looking for. Now, these are criteria that I have set for my own business, but obviously, you can change that to match your particular business. Once that code node is done, we are going to add all of those leads to the sheet. These are the variables: first name, last name, the industry that we got from the original prompt, location as well, the title of the individual, the email address, their headline, their LinkedIn URL, company LinkedIn, website, employee count, and the lead score that we had calculated earlier. Now that all of that is done, we are going to grab an edit fields node, where we just want to grab the count of leads that were output from the code node. We also want to grab the industry, location, add the chat ID. And this is just to send a confirmation message through Telegram that we have extracted X number of leads, which you saw. Next up, we have an aggregate node because we're going to be passing nearly 1,000 or so data items. So we're just going to aggregate all of those data items into a single item. And once the whole process is done, we're just going to fire off a confirmation message through Telegram back to that same Telegram bot saying X number of leads added to the database for X industry in X location based on the original command that we had given it. So that's part one of this automation where we are scraping leads and adding them to our database. Now, part two of this automation is going through every single lead individually, trying to do a little bit more research on that lead, and then adding that research to our spreadsheet, and finally pushing that to our cold email tool. Now, for now, I've just kept this as a manual trigger, but you could certainly set this up as a schedule. So if you're pulling new leads in every day, you can schedule the enrichment process to work every single day at a certain hour as well. So we're going to read that same Google Sheet, and the only filter that we're having is that the raw insights column is empty, because once a lead has been enriched, the raw insights column is going to be full of data. So that's all that we're looking for. So we're going to pull in any records that match those criteria. So whatever number of records there are, and then we're going to go into a loop because we want to treat each record individually. Now, this does take a little bit extra time because we're doing every lead individually, but the advantage of that is that you're not going to run into API rate limits when we call the Perplexity API to pull some information about. The next step is to go into the Perplexity API. So we make an HTTP request to perplexity/completions. I've got my authentication set up here with as a header auth, and I've got a prompt over here for you. So I'm using Sonar right now. Sonar is pretty good, but if you're finding that Sonar is not getting you the results that you need, then you might consider using Sonar-Pro, which provides deeper research, but it's also more expensive. So I've given it a system prompt, and here's the content: the B2B intelligence expert. Your specialty is researching cold leads and finding insights to use for crafting personalized emails. I am pitching discovery calls for AI automation services. You need to change this to match your particular industry to Jason.industry companies, and the user message is find insights on the first name of that individual, the last name, and the company that that person belongs to. So that's basically the only prompt that we're giving it. Next, what it's going to do is it's going to take the output from Perplexity, Now, it's going to take those raw insights from Perplexity and give it to OpenAI. And what we're going to, and we're telling OpenAI to use those raw insights to craft a winning, engaging, and replying using icebreaker for a cold email. Here's the entire prompt. And again, if you need these prompts and you need this entire workflow, just go ahead and leave a comment and I'll be more than happy to share it with you. So once that LLM chain is done, we go back to the Google Sheet. This time we want to match over the email address from that particular row. And all we're doing is we're adding the raw insights, which is the Perplexity reply, and we're also adding a ready icebreaker, which is the ChatGPT reply from the Perplexity message. Once that's complete, that's one lead that has been enriched. Then you make an HTTP request to Smartlead's API, and all we're doing is we are passing this information and adding it to our Smartleads campaign. And this is the structure of the API call, where we have the first name, last name, email. We're not passing a phone number in this case, company name, website, location, the custom fields that we have created. And uh, I've also created some custom fields here where I have a title and the first line of the email. And that first line is a variable that I use in the cold email. I also want to pass in the LinkedIn profile and the company URL. Once that lead has been added to Smart Lead, finally there's a wait field. I kept it at 30 seconds. You can reduce this to 5 or 10 seconds. The only reason I've kept it at 30 seconds is to give the API calls just a little bit of time in between, because if at some point you make too many API calls, it's going to throw an error and break your entire workflow. So it's better to be a little bit slower and make sure that your entire workflow completes rather than trying to rush things and having your workflow break in between. And then it's going to loop over every single item from your Google Sheet until all of your leads have been enriched. Now, one way that you can enhance this workflow is, instead of using only Perplexity to get insights, you can also use another Apify scraper to get information directly from that individual's LinkedIn profile, such as their recent LinkedIn posts, or a little bit about, or get some insights from their LinkedIn about section. So you could certainly do that as well. So that's the entire lead gen and enrichment workflow. And all that's left to do is go back into Smart Lead, set up your email sequence, start firing off those emails, watch your leads come in, and close those clients. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a like, and do remember to subscribe to the channel for more AI and automation content.